What's up, guys? Welcome to the official Pillar podcast, where we're going to discuss many things, including the launch of our business, which we're mainly going to focus on today. My name is Riley Perkins. I'm the principal broker and a co-founder of Pillar Realty and Management.
My name is Blake DeLuca, co-founder of Pillar Realty and Management. I got to give Riley a hard time. It's been a little bit since we've been on the camera. Yeah, it has been a minute since we last blog. But yeah, co-founder of Pillar Realty Management. Been doing real estate 2+ years.
Yeah. So me and Blake have been friends for a super long time, like dating back to like 8th grade when he transferred to my school. But that topic or story can be for another day. Podcast setup wise, we were like, how should we set this up? Then essentially we said, the first episode, let's let the people lead the episode. So a while back after our soft launch in November, I posted something on Instagram and basically was like, what do you want to know about how we got started? The nitty gritty about our business. So here we are. We're going to do this in a little interesting format. I'll say a question that we got asked or a topic. We can riff on that a little bit and go on about it for as long as we want. So the very first question that we got was actually really interesting and is honestly a huge compliment. And I'll hit on it first, then you can hit on it second, and then we'll switch after that. The next question. But the first question that we got asked multiple times was, where did you find this franchise, or where is this franchise based? So you have like Keller Williams, which is based out of Austin, Texas. Remax is based out of Denver, Colorado. And Pillar Realty and Management based out of Little Rock, Arkansas. We did not franchise it. We had a lot. That was like one of the biggest compliments that we've been told multiple times by a lot of people that we've met is like, man, the stuff looks amazing. It looks like y'all got it from a franchise type thing. But no, we had the logo made ourselves. We came up with the name ourselves. We did all of that ourselves. So that was honestly, to answer that first question, one of the biggest compliments was franchise is based in Little Rock, Arkansas, and hopefully can expand from there.
Yeah. Well, and two, like you think about it, we spent months creating a name. To the point where I had a whiteboard in our old house and I wrote so many names down. We would like call and text back and forth where they stayed on the board so long that the boards ruined. Yeah. For the board wet. So we wrote so many different names, drew so many different logos, tried to buy so many different domains. Like to get to where it was like, oh, we're just never going to figure out a name.
Yeah, literally.
When we
finally did. Pillar Realty and Management was born. Yeah. That was, which kind of leads into the second question, which I will let you go first on this one, and then I can kind of maybe fill in some of the blanks or something. How did you come up with the name? How did you find the name?
Man, I feel like we went through so many names. Yeah, a ton. And like triple digits. Yeah. And we probably spitballed this name at some point and they were like, no, it'll be like something else better. Yeah. But I think what landed us on it was, as we started talking about like, we're looking at like a house. We're like, okay, well, house maybe, taken. You're just like throwing out all these different names about real estate. Like, okay, well, can we use this Z? Like, well, everyone's using a Z. House, Zillow, like all these like strange names people are using. And then we started like, okay, you're going to build a house. You got wood, you got windows, doors. We started going through all that stuff, right? And it's like words.
Yeah, it's like exercise.
Yeah, but it's like an exercise, like just trying to create your own word. And then that's like where a lot of big names come, kind of like Zillow. Yeah. They created their own word. Yeah. A lot of people do that. That's where the route I was going. And then we were like, well, I didn't remember who came up with Pillar, but it was like Pillar. And it was like super simple. Yeah. And this has got to be taken. Like someone's got to be doing this. And I ventured into like the pillar of real estate, the pillar of your life, the pillar of like a family, like that supporting column. Yeah. And generally that's where the home is.
For sure. Yeah. And that's something that we were kind of like, if you think about like Zillow and you think about Redfin and you think about, all these different things that have kind of, or like Open Door, they kind of have like, it's like two sounds and it's super easy to remember. It's something that somebody could look at and they can say it super easy. It's super easy to remember. You don't forget something like that. And then you think about the Z, or you think about, these letters making up these words that is like, well, that's not going to be taken because that doesn't exist, and we can kind of do whatever we want with that. It's a risk to come up with your own word, though, because if it fails, then you kind of look like an idiot. But so we ended up selling. We were it was one of the ones we had on a board, and we were like, well, what do we want to be? Like, who are we? And it was, we want to be, like he said, we want to be a pillar of the real estate industry in Little Rock currently, in Central Arkansas. We want to be a pillar of the community. And then it was like, what if we just went with pillar? So that's kind of how that came about. So it was kind of a long process. It was like months, of working through different names. We had a couple other different names that we can share. Like, we were like seconds away from being like, this is our name, and we would come up with it. And we can talk about those maybe another time, about what the potential names of this company could be. But we settled on Pillar Realty and Management, and we hit the ground running from there.
Yeah, and you think about name too, like the name is everything. Yeah, like as weird as it sounds, you don't want to go with something like super long, and you don't want to go with something like super custom, because if something's super custom, then, like you said, it fails. Yeah. You've put all this money in the branding, but like for us, Pillar's a basic name, but it's like easy to remember. It's, anyone can spell it. You start like venturing into names of like, Blake at the Pillar team, or like Blake at, you start like trying to even say an email address. It's like, how do you spell house? Yeah. And you're spelling with like a U and a Z. Yeah. If we're going to misspell that, you're never going to get emails. Like, you start going down that whole route, and Pillar is just simple. Yeah.
There's a lot more to think about than just like the name on the sign. Yeah.
Absolutely. Then you got the colors to think about. Yeah, it kind of goes into the logo, but that's the previous question.
So how did we come up with the colors?
Well, I mean, I feel like, so in real estate, you look at it, or like at least locally around, everyone uses the same colors. Like, everyone's using black. Yeah. Everyone's using gold. Everyone's using gray. Everyone's used red. Yeah. Like, red is everywhere. Yep. And blue is everywhere. There's no diversity, I guess. Like, it's just, everyone's using the same sign. And I feel like the same color scheme. Yeah. And so I think I found color palette and I sent to you. Yeah. And I was like, I like this color palette. And then we tweaked it, I think, a little bit. And that's where we got blue and orange. Yep.
Stands out. Not a lot of people are using that stuff. Stands out. So when you drive by one of our signs on a house that we have listed or something, you're like, oh yeah, I recognize that company. And then the more you see it, obviously you can drive past 7 red signs, all from different companies, or 7, signs with red and blue on them, or red and black, or whatever, all from different companies. And so it kind of just like dilutes itself a little bit. But we have, we're orange and navy. You can drive past, one sign or 10 signs, orange and navy, and they're all going to be us. It's not going to be one company that has that color and then another company. It's all going to be us. So that kind of leads into the next question with putting signs in yards, sort of. Maybe that's a bad segue. We'll see. So you're starting your own business. One of the questions was, isn't this a bad time for real estate? Why now? So you're thinking, when we launched this in November, interest rates are the highest they've been since like 2000, early 2000s. So like roughly 18 to 20 years, interest rates are the highest. Sales are down because of that. Mortgage applications are at their lowest point, and who knows how long. So why November? Why now?
Well, November's my birthday, but not birthday. But yeah, no, I think the big reason is a lot of companies. You look back over history. A lot of the best companies are started in rough times. Yeah. And you can define a rough time multiple ways. People think of it in all sorts of aspects of life. But financially, like, if you can start a business and successfully run a business, a profitable business, during a bad time or high interest rates, you can rather earn a good time. Because if you start during a good time, you're best off below with their cash, right? Marketing budgets are high. You're spending a ton of money because you're making a ton of money. But if you could start a business in a slower time or a not so good financial time, you learn to watch your penny, right? It's kind of like, I think it's like Gary Vee talks about that, of like, who would you bet on? Do you bet on the kid who has nothing and like doesn't know how to play basketball, right? Comes from like a bad area or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
he's scrapping.
Yeah.
Or you're going to bet on the person who's handed everything.
Yeah.
It's like, you're going to bet on the person who is not here and everything.
Yeah.
Because they're going to work for it.
Got to go get it in the bad times, maybe.
Yeah. Similar thing. You're willing to put more into it, I feel like.
For sure.
You're watching your money. You're more careful. You're more strategic.
Sure. And not to mention that we both come from marketing backgrounds. Yep. So it's very much like, who are going to be the ones who do succeed in the bad times when there's still, obviously there's always going to be people who move. There's always going to be people who have to buy a house or have to move because of a job or sell their house because they're moving out of state for a job or whatever. And so there's always going to be people who move. So there will always be houses to be sold, but they're just going to be at a much lower volume. So they're going to choose the people who stand out. And both of our marketing backgrounds, we haven't even really done a ton of stuff related to that at this point, but we have very big plans of kind of the marketing strategy that we're going to take, and we're working on our launch video and all that stuff right now, or our real launch video, I guess. I know we launched 2 months ago, so it's kind of weird saying launch video, but our real launch video. And so we have super big ideas for all of that kind of stuff, and we think that we're going to get to the point where when, if it does get to that level where there's just less being sold, that we'll be able to use data and use marketing and use that kind of thing to make ourselves stand out above the rest. And obviously, we're building credibility as we continue to sell more. That's another aspect of it. It was a really slow time for real estate when we started, and the whole time that we've been going, whether it's stuff that we've personally posted on Instagram to get, customers or clients, or whether it's stuff that we've posted on Pillar, we've been blowing and going the whole time. Yeah. We've had a lot of transactions, so we've been super blessed as kind of a great start to the business. But yeah, and then you look at it now, and you're thinking, well, it's February now. The interest rates have fallen down a little bit. Each week, the mortgage applications are going up significantly. And I think it was last week where they went up like 30% in 1 week. And so people are getting back into the search now that the interest rates are going back down, and now that it's kind of getting into that like spring, summer buying season. So it was very deliberate, honestly. We were like, let's start in November, or around that time in the fall, and then we'll kind of be able to work out the kinks and figure out the processes throughout the winter when it may be a little slower. And then by the time the spring comes around, the summer comes around, we'll have some more agents. Yeah. We'll have, our processes set up, and we'll be able to rock and roll. So we have, 4 to 5 months of build up before the busy season gets here. And then we think we'll be, in good position to have a super successful summer.
Yeah, I think I view our marketing as an iceberg. Yeah, I don't even think I've talked to you about this, but in my mind, it's like, an iceberg at the top is like super small.
Yeah.
If the Titanic drove by that iceberg, it was just like, oh, look, a little iceberg, and then they got wrecked.
Too nice to.
Yeah. So it's like, that's kind of how we are, I feel like, in the marketing space of what we've got.
Yeah.
What we have shown is, or what we may look like to the public currently, like new brokerage, small starting out. They got some flashy branding. They're good. But that is just what people see.
Yeah.
Everything else under the iceberg is, we may not be able to compete with the hundreds of millions of dollars some of these companies are sinking into marketing.
Yeah.
But a lot of these companies have been doing it for 50, 60, 70 years, real estate. And so, a lot of these large brokerages are like massive Titanic ships.
Yeah.
The ship that got stuck in that canal, they got turned sideways, right? That's like how a lot of these organizations are. They get turned sideways and they're stuck. And they do the same thing repetitively for marketing, and they never change.
Yeah.
They are constantly doing the same marketing that people were doing 15, 20 years ago. Yeah. Whereas now you see us coming into the space and we're taking a whole new side approach to marketing. They may have all the money, but like their organizations are so hard to move. Yeah. Ours is, we're kind of super small and scrappy. So we may make a mistake and not a big deal. Yeah. They make $1 million mistakes. Yeah. We make like small mistakes, but then also at the same time, we're so aware of what we have both personally done in marketing, where most of those mistakes we've made ourselves, for sure, not in the business, for sure. And we take all those learnings and now we're going to apply it to the way.
And also, if you think about it just from like that perspective, like you're saying, like those like giant, more corporate companies they have big budgets, but also speaking on that, they have a lot more red tape to go through if they want to change something. So they're super traditional marketing, and obviously there's some that are really good at it, like Compass or some of maybe the like newer generation type. But on that, you're going through multiple levels of the corporate ladder to say, oh, we need to run, XYZ marketing campaign or advertisement or whatever. When some of these companies who've been around for a long time are stuck maybe in the traditional ways of billboards and newspaper ads or something like that. And that was another aspect of we looked at franchises and stuff like that, and we were like, let's just do our own thing. We don't have to answer to anybody. We can do it exactly the way that we want to do it, and there's no excuses that come along with that. If it works, that's awesome. If it doesn't, that's because we tried something that maybe has not been done before. And so we're super excited about that. And so then that leads into the next question, which was, what all do you guys offer? So obviously we buy, we sell, we work with a lot of investors. We do a lot of like apartment transactions, and we also do management, which Blake is kind of heading up as of now in terms of the management. So I'll let him start, and then I can come in at the end.
Yeah, I think, at least for us, a lot of organizations are like a lot of real estate brokerages are not all encompassing. They're not like full circle. So they specifically will help people either buy a property, they do the transaction, they leave. There's no relationship there. There's no CX. There's no customer experience happening. Or they'll help someone sell a property and they sell it and they're gone. And it could have been an investor, right? Someone who has 5 or 6 properties and they're selling it and they're leaving, or they're buying one and they're leaving. And it's very real estate. I feel like historically is very transactional based. Yeah, it was relationship based. Just from outside looking in, not that hadn't done for 50 years like some people. But in the management side, we have an extra arm to be more full circle, where we can say, hey, we have a group of investors, or we have a group of properties that are going to come up. We can offer to different investors, and at the same time say, we can guarantee or pretty much get close and say, this is going to be your % return on investment. Yeah. Because we know what it's going to rent for. It's not, you don't have to go work with us to buy it or sell it and then find a property manager and get estimates and all that. It's all in-house for us. Buy through us, we can manage the properties, and we run all those numbers beforehand. Yeah. So like some of the investors we work with, it's, hey, we can buy this house with Bryant, $250 is going to rent for this, because we already manage properties there. And I can say, we're currently getting 12-15% return. Whereas some brokerages are like, we'll do property management. Yeah. They'll find somebody else to do that. They'll find someone else. And so I think for us as services, which you've been doing a lot of buying and selling, which I thought you speak to that, but like there has to be a better, in brokerage or in real estate, there has to be a better customer experience. Yeah. There has to be more full circle offerings. There has to be more, we know you have to get complex to reinvent the wheel. Yeah. It's just providing a better service than what people have gotten for the past 50 years.
For sure. Which is what the probably like the month and a half or so leading up to when we actually made the transition to starting this, was kind of set to do, was to help us discover different CX things, customer experience things. Like he's talking about, how can we make it a desirable thing to say, oh, I want to work with those guys because they make life way easier on me. You know, they take the stress, put it on themselves. I'm not as stressed. And you know, from an investor side, and I know this is what I'm kind of going to get in return for that. But if you have, we do the buying side, the selling side, and from the investor side, like you were referring to earlier, I sold a lot of like apartment buildings and duplexes and different things like that, or just single family homes that were investments. And in that, I would have to say, oh, well, we're going to have to send you to, or refer you to this property management company. And then you start thinking about it, and it was like, dang, I sold quite a few like units of an investment type purchases, and then it's like, man, we're missing out on a lot there. And then you hear, you know, these stories of people who have purchased an investment that's great, but they've hired a property management company that's done you know, things poorly, and so then they're upset at a realtor or something like that for just the whole situation that they really have no control over. And so now it's like, well, how can we have our hand in all sides of the business? And we have way bigger plans for the future and what that looks like in 10, 15 years. But for now, it's buying, selling, investor heavy property management. And if you come to us and you say, hey, I want to buy a house, it's like, great, we do that. If you come to us and you're like, I want to sell my house and buy a new house, it's like, great, we do both of those. Or you come to us and you're like, I want to buy a single family investment property, or I want to buy a 100-unit, you know, commercial investment apartment building or something like that. It's like, great, we do all that. And then they're like, well, who do I get to manage the property? And it's like, you know, we do that as well. So it's kind of like have our hand in a lot of things right now that make our business a very, very full service brokerage, which not a lot offer. Some do, and some do a good job at it, but we're trying to completely recreate what that looks like.
Yeah. If you think about too, like historically interest rates, you know, you gotta, I guess, understand history in this scenario too of interest rates have never historically been this low. Yeah. And there's way more people who bought homes previously than there ever has been. Right. Home ownership has become cheaper because of interest rates. Yeah. Lots and prices of homes have gone really, really high. Yeah. But in 3 years from now, in 5 years from now, when people who bought single family homes start having kids, or they get married and they go to what are they going to do with their home? They're going to call someone and say, hey, I want to sell my house. And it's like, well, hold on. Why don't you keep your property and turn it into a rental? Because if you did that 2 years ago, you're going to go from like a 2-something interest rate to like now like a 6-something interest rate. So you can keep your home and rent it, pay for the mortgage, and build a generational wealth. Yeah. And you know, as long as that person has saved, they can then purchase another home and keep their current home, or leverage the equity in that, because there's probably a ton of equity because we saw the price of homes skyrocket. Yeah, that then they can use that to purchase another home. So it's like you're going to have a lot of people, I think, in the next 3 to 5 years want to sell houses or buy houses. Just that's like the cycle. Some people, maybe 10 years from now, right? But it's like you think really far down, I feel like business planning purposes, that's something we can offer, like going to a client consultation, someone saying, hey, well, I want to sell my $250,000 house. It's like, you know, you probably rent this for $1,800 a month, and like, my mortgage is only like $1,000. That, you know, that's huge to some people. That's an extra $800, and they really don't do anything.
For sure. Yeah, don't do anything. And not only are you getting $800 a month on top of that, but you're getting the equity that's growing and growing. And then when you finally sell it, it may be, you know, obviously with the equity that you're gaining and the appreciation, it may be a $300,000 payday, you know? So absolutely, which kind of goes into the next question, which was like, it's maybe philosophical.
Okay. Hit me with it.
Essentially, who we are as a company, which I think kind of stems off of your point that you just made, which is like, our goal at the end of the day is like what's best for the person that we're dealing with. We don't come in and it's like, no, you need to sell, or no, you need to buy, even though we know that may put them in a worse situation, or they're missing out on a potential situation. Right. Like you're saying, it's like we have everybody's best interest at the end of the day, which real estate in general can be a tough business for that, honestly, in terms of it's a commission-based job. And so a lot of people are like, oh, another deal, another transaction, I'm going to get my commission on that, and they kind of miss out on the human side of things. And we try to add that back in. It's like we have these booklets that we like to give to all of our clients, whether you're buying, whether you're selling, whether you're an investor. And it's like, hey, here's the options. Let's not rush into something, and not even that it's rushing into it, but let's just take, the 30,000-foot view and say, could this be something that's beneficial for me, later on down the road to keep this house, or to, if I have a little extra cash laying around, to buy an investment property or something like that. And we just have the best interest of the people that we're working with.
Yeah, a lot of people are. I mean, I just feel like you look at the industry, it's like car salesmen, or buying a car. People hate buying cars. Like, I haven't been a person who's like, I love going to the car dealership and buying a car. Like, if you do, please send us a DM, because I'd be amazed to see who enjoys that process, right? Or
sales industry, man.
Yeah, it's just not. It's not enjoyable, right? And you've seen Tesla revolutionize that, I think, by just buying a car online, right? Clearly, we're going to bypass the whole thing because it's a very pressure-driven, aspect. Absolutely. I tried to buy a car, and they're like, here's the pen, here's the paperwork, all you got to do is sign there. It's like, hold on, man, I didn't test drove it, right? Whereas in real estate, it's similar. I feel like a lot of agents will show homes or talk to clients, and they're like, let's put in an offer. It's like, you're putting pressure on somebody to make an offer, whereas we don't want to do that. People are like, let's do the deal. Let's do the deal. It's like, do you really want to do the deal? Because it may not be the best deal. Yeah. Right? We saw agents for the past 2 years telling clients, offer for $10,000 over, skip the inspection. Yeah. Right? Don't do the appraisal if you're doing cash. You saw agents doing that constantly. Whereas me, I'm for the past 2 years, I was a low line. So I was like, nope, you're at 250, I'll give you at 225. And someone's paying 280 for that.
Still too high.
Still, yeah. I'm just it's nuts. And I feel like agents are kind of what has allowed that to happen. Absolutely. Just because, I don't know, my personal opinion is I think a lot of people view agents as that advisor or whatever, and so they really trust them. Yeah. So oh man, I'll buy this house and in 3 years it'll be worth more. It's it may not be. And so I think we're going to see people be very upset with a lot of agents who sold homes and were skip the inspection. And then 2 years down the road, there's a big issue. Yeah. Or 2 years from now, the home's not worth what it was. Yeah. For what they paid for it.
And they have to bring money to the closing table or something like that, even though they...
And they have to bring money that they don't even to the closing table, so they can't even sell their house. Yeah. That's not who we want to be. Yeah. Right. That's not the sales. Even though we're a sales industry or a service industry, it's more of a personalized industry. Yeah. Versus just a one size fits all. Absolutely. Let's get this deal done and closed.
Yeah. It's we both obviously love real estate, and the sales aspect of it is not necessary, or the sales, what would be the word? The sales kind of persona maybe is not exactly what we love. We love real estate, don't love kind of the name that comes with being a real estate agent, sort of, somebody who's selling. And so we're well, how can we get into this business and just change the outlook and be no, we really do have people's best interest, and we're going to run the numbers for you multiple times and make sure that we're not putting in an offer that is above the worth of the house always get an inspection. Always get an inspection on
To the point where, if I will say this on this podcast, if an agent tells you to not get an inspection, you should fire them right then.
Yeah, even if we just had a situation where one of our listings, we said no repairs to be done, but still we were like, if you're in that situation, even though there are no repairs going to be done, still get an inspection so you know what you're dealing with, because there may be bigger issues, not in this scenario, but if you're being represented by somebody, there may be issues that, even though it's as is and things look good on the surface, that you just may not know about it. So get somebody in there who's a professional, who sees that stuff every single day, and who can tell you if there are issues. Yeah, absolutely. Always get an inspection, and yeah, even if there are no repairs, still get an inspection.
I'm to the point where it's like, you make an offer, you're doing the inspection, even if it's in a subdivision. Always have the inspection. Always do a survey. Yeah. Like, people skip out on that a lot too, I think, where, if you're buying an older home, you don't know. Yeah. Like, you can't, the selling agent or the buying agent can't, in my opinion, respectfully, or they shouldn't be able to look at the seller and buyer and be like, oh yeah, this is your property line. Yeah. Right? Like, you really don't know.
There's rough estimates, but exactness is not really a thing on
Yeah, you should always do a survey. Yeah. Just so, you spend in even $100,000 on a house. Well, like $150,000. That's a lot of money for some people. Yeah. And then it's a lot with period. That's $100,000. It's $1,000. Yeah. If you're buying a $500 to $1 million house, like, that white glove experience, like, all of it should be in there. Yeah. Like, period. Inspections, surveys, the whole 9 yards. Like, you should fully go out, because you're signing up, or your client is signing up to take on a payment that is astronomically large. Absolutely. I just don't know. I feel like, going back to kind of what we were talking about, I feel like in the coming years, there's going to be a lot of disappointment from people with agents, because a lot of agents took the quick car salesman approach. Yeah. I'm like, let's get this deal done, and I'm making $20,000, I'm making $10,000, and they made the most money they've ever made in years, because they treated there was no experience, there was no relationship, it was all transaction.
Which, there's a very real reason that 80% of buyers never use that realtor again.
20% of
people reuse the realtor. There's a reason that 80% of people don't. And it's because they get in the house and they're like, wow, we paid way too much for this, and we were told that it was worth it, or just any number of reasons. Yep. And so that was kind of our mission or approach in building this business, is like, how can we reverse that to where 80%, obviously you want 100%, but how can we get it to where the highest percentage possible gets in our community and is like, I would never use anybody else other than them. We've kind of been trying to dissect that a little bit and see how we can go about doing that. And we think that we've developed a good plan up until this point of just making the transaction as seamless and as stress-free and as easy as possible on the buyer or the client.
There's always going to be another deal out there. Absolutely. Like, I feel like people get caught of the I have to have this house. Like, this is the house where a lot of these homes, from 2007, 8, 9, and especially now, they all have the same floor plan. Yeah. In my neighborhood alone, the floor plan is built multiple times. Yeah. It just looks different. There's a few older neighborhoods that are like that. So if you're looking in specific areas, it's like, I have to have this house. Well, chances are there's another house out there that's extremely similar to it. Actually, and some people get selling, they overpay where, I take the emotion out of the deal. I feel like let's look at the strategic, the numbers, especially for investing, right? It's like, I don't want to just own the 12-unit apartment complex. It's like, does it cash flow? Does it make money? Some people will show up in the flashy cars and like talk about the house like beautiful and etc. And it's like, I mean, didn't they set unrealistic expectations of like, this is the best house ever, now I'm gonna buy it, and you get in and you realize the cabinet door falls off. Like,
Because we didn't have an inspection.
is this really the nicest house? So I feel like you gotta be careful.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's like, obviously everyone's a real estate, like people are real estate agents, and if there's realtors, you're different, good people and bad people in all industries, but I mean, definitely do your homework.
Yeah. That's why we're here.
Business day.
Yeah.
For a client.
Yeah. That's why you have a due diligence period. Absolutely. And that's why we're only searching for the right people to work with us, so that it's people that we know we can trust, and it's people that we know are going to give that same service, and we can kind of train in the way that we want it to be done to make sure that the client or the customer is always taken care of to the best of our ability. But then the last question, the final one. Is it just the two of you?
Is that really it?
That was really it. At the time, I think it was when I posted this. But
depends on whenever you posted
yeah,
it was.
I think it was like maybe early December or late November. I think it was just the two of us. But that is no longer the case. There are four of us now.
Total 4.
With a couple more to come soon. But that they're kind of in the pipeline a little bit. It's hard to switch in real estate. The transition period is interesting with deals you have under contract and all of that. So it takes time. But right now it's 4 of us. It's me, Blake, Emma Grace Hall, Bryce Ramey. Trusted us enough to go out on a limb a little bit, and here we are. And they've been killing it since they came over, and we've had a great time. More to come soon. That's another aspect of it, though. I think it's like we obviously all of this stuff we have like kind of a set way that we like to take care of people, but we're also like we wanted to do this podcast so it gives us like a human side a little bit. It's not like an edited Instagram reel or anything like that. It's like we like to have a good time as well, and we feel like the people that we've hired to this point really further our kind of agenda. They're great people who take care of people. We can all have a great time together, and they're people who are just good people, just good humans.
Yeah, I think a lot of brokerages, there's like 2 ways. They like, one, will they'll just hire anybody. Yeah, the numbers, which, sure, you put your name out there, right? Like, there's, don't want to call out any like brokerage, like big brands, but like just picture of like a really big brand. You drive around, like you may always see that brand in like whatever team or like whatever agent.
Yeah.
And a lot of those brokerages I get tons of cold calls from them of like, will you join our brokerage? It's like, I own my own brokerage. Why are you calling me?
Yeah, never even talked to you. I don't even know who you are, and you don't know who I am.
Yeah, and it's someone in a different state or something calling it, or it's been in a different country.
Yeah,
and they're like, hey, will you join blah 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 brokerage? They're hiring in Little Rock, and this is a team.
Yeah,
like I would much rather that person call and be like, let's go out to coffee.
Yeah,
or if they're really gonna hire me. But those are like the brokerage based numbers of like, they just really not hire anybody for sure. Which you don't get the good customer experience.
Yeah.
Or you may like, it's hit or miss.
Yeah.
But I think those are more focused on the numbers, and then you have the other ones where they kind of just grow at their own pace.
Yeah.
Which I think that's what we're going for.
Yeah.
Where we don't want to be the biggest brokerage. We don't want to be the smallest brokerage. Just like, I don't want it to just be me and you. But and if it is, it should be me and you.
That would get old real quick.
But you think about it, it's like we want to grow at our own pace, so we can, controlled growth, I think that's growth.
Yeah.
Where we can control the experience, we can control the marketing, we can control what's out there, build the brand, but at the same time, enable our agents to provide the best customer service. Because me and you can have two customers. We've got our agent as a customer, absolutely. Because what we provide our agents is just, in my opinion, I haven't seen other brokerages do.
Yeah.
Super unique. So that's one of our customers. And then the other customer is their customer. So it's kind of like that waterfall effect.
Yeah.
And so we will continue to grow, continue on more people. But I think where we're different is I don't want there to be a question in someone's mind of who to call.
Yeah.
I want it to be like, I'll just call Pillar. That's because they know what they're going to get. Whereas, some brokerages you call, you don't know what you're going to get. Or you use one agent 1 year, and then 5 years later, you use a different agent, and everything's different.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm just buying a house. Like, how hard is this? Like, why is the whole process different? Like, what is so crazy about it? And it shouldn't be that.
Yeah.
There should be a standard, which, unfortunately, I don't think there is. Just in the paperwork. Like, some people don't even do the paperwork right. Yeah. And it's just like, how do you not do this correct? So
we're doing a transaction with somebody right now who's been in the real estate game for a long time and has yet to do like one document correctly.
I sent an offer to someone who's been doing it for like 20 plus years, and like they refused to have it signed.
Yeah.
Or reject and then like counter, and they were just like, no, like they don't want to touch it, but this is what they'll do.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of legally have to have this signed. Some people just don't do it. And and it's like, I don't know, I feel like Pillar, especially me and you, are very transparent with the client of like, this is what's going on. Probably to the point where we're too transparent, at least in a few of the deals we've done.
So I never disclose too much.
Yeah, it's just like, here's everything. I don't know. I feel like some people are transparent.
Yeah.
Sorry, we get off this until Billy's here.
I totally agree. And just going like the agent route, our kind of like motto, I guess if you want to call it that we set was like, only go after and accept the best and grow as fast or as slow as that allows.
Yeah.
So if it was just the two of us, like when we started, we had this little executive suite. We still sort of do, but we had this little executive suite that was like for us, because we were like, we have these lofty goals that we're going after, and it may take us a while to get there. Like it just may. But then we added Bryce, we added Emma Grace, and we outgrew our tiny little office already. So we're working on moving on to the next one already. And we've only been a company for 2.5 months or 3 months now. And so you're looking at that, and it's like, as we continue to only go after the best, and I don't think that means like somebody who's selling $50 million a year. I think what I would rather have is somebody who sells a lot but is a good person, because they're going to have repeat business. They're going to have referral business. It's more about that to me. It just is. It's more about being a good person, taking care of your client the right way, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to get repeat business. That's what's going to get referrals, and that's what's going to get your brand notoriety.
Yeah, you talk about going after the best, and I think to a lot of people, they would think, what is the best? And they would define the best as the highest producers of the state.
Yeah.
Like, that right there is the best. Where when we say the best, which we're probably do some type of like, what's it called when you spell out like BEST and you put the words next to it or whatever?
Yeah.
That's called something, but I probably do something like that. I think we've said it and we've talked about it. The best doesn't have to be the people who are selling the most. In our scenario, it's really providing the best customer experience, helping people find the best deals. Like, there's a lot of different ways we can define the best.
Yeah.
but it doesn't, the best for us doesn't mean you have to sell those to the state. Because you don't sell those in the state. At some point, I'd hope we sell those in the state because people are like, I'm calling Pillar. Like,
and to add on to that, that's exactly how you get to that point. Like doing things the right way is always the right thing, you know, and eventually the benefits of that will come. But we're just setting that foundation right now. But yeah, absolutely. Like we'll be there at some point, and it may be in 3 years, it may be in 10, you know. But as long as we continue to do things the right way, then that's, you know, what we're gonna do.
But I think you can, like, some people be like, oh, a new agent. A new agent can be the best agent too. Absolutely. Like, kind of like we were talking about earlier, where I said, who you bet against, right? You bet on the person who has nothing, the person who has everything. It's like, yeah, that's a Gary Vee thing, I think. Yeah, it's still like, you're going to bet on the person who has nothing, versus the person who has stuff. So if you do recruit the best of the state, the top performers, they're probably not going to give or provide the Pillar experience.
For sure.
Like, they're going to continue to do their experience. Yeah, I got them to where they're at, which is huge, but they're probably also not going to switch to you. Or come here. So it's like, you know, I'd rather, or it's like the basketball player scenario, which one of our coaches always talked about too. Like, who do you want on the team? The guy who's like talented, something like that, like has all the talent, or the guy who like all the talent and doesn't practice, or the guy who like practices them up the floors and is mediocre. Yeah, like you'll think, sure, I'd rather take that guy work ethic. He has that work ethic. Yeah, absolutely. So the best, another way of defining it is having a really good work ethic. Absolutely. Timely communication, sending contracts on time, getting stuff signed, setting the right expectations, like stuff that is basic or should be basic. When you think, some people just don't do it. Some people just don't. So some people just don't, which then leads to a bad experience. Yeah, absolutely. And then you never use the same name.
Absolutely, it's another statistic. But yeah, we wanted. I think I may have said this earlier. We just wanted this platform to be something that we could like just connect on a little bit of a deeper level, a more unedited level, I guess, with a potential person, whether interested in using Pillar or whether interested in working at Pillar or just interested in real estate in general. It's easy to see us, you know, on Instagram or in a salesy setting. And this is not that. This is us just being real, having a conversation that hopefully was enjoyable. Let's see. 52 minutes.
That's actually a good podcast.
52 minutes of enjoyment. I love it. Yeah, that's not bad.
Podcast for like an hour.
Yeah.
So
I feel like that's pretty good for the first time.
Yeah, but I mean, on a personal level, like, I'm in a full low in khakis and you're in jeans and a hog shirt, like, and the polo. It's a polo hog shirt, but like, we're not sitting here like decked out and, you know, salesy stuff. Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty personal. I mean, we have been personal, so 100%. 52 minutes is good. I'm impressed. That's solid. I'm sitting here like my phone's vibrating and I'm like, look at the time. There. Oh wow.
Probably missed 5 phone calls during this 52 minutes.
People are like, when does dude do it for 52 minutes? At the end, I was like flicking and it's like, oh, by calls, by an email. I was like, where is this guy?
Well, you have any crazy stories or any last words before we wrap up?
No crazy stories. I think like the biggest thing I want to hammer home to like anyone listening or anyone who is thinking about using Pillar, joining Pillar, talking about Pillar, even if you don't use us or join our team, like our name's out there. We're doing everything the right way, which I really want to hammer home to people, like, you know, everything down to like sending all the personal stuff, but like in deals, like all the contracts are done the right way. Yeah. The checklist, the processes, everything we have is like to a T detailed and built out. Even to like, you know, just in the like ecosystem or of like real estate, like that is key to success. Which a lot of people they don't have. So like we're doing that right. Like the way we've structured the business and like talk to our agents, set our agents up with stuff. Provide them the resources. Like, we're doing that to a T, and like, I feel like really well. We want to be the best there too, because if you're like, you just have to, I feel like. And I really want to hammer home, like, everything we're doing is to the best. It's like, I would rather have a small house that's like brand new, beautiful, than a large house that's like kind of falling apart. And that's, I think, what we're building, and we're slowly will be adding on to it. But everything we're doing is from the ground up.
Absolutely.
Down to the agency agreements, like
Everything like internal in-house.
may take a while, but it's going to be the best. For sure.
Just like it took our name. Months. The colors, the branding, everything took months. Just our agreement ourselves took months to draw up. Now, like, everything we're doing is going to do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we're not willing to risk that, or to put, so we're not willing to risk that. So we're not going to hire somebody just to have our 6th or our 7th or our 15th agent. Like, we don't have goals related to that. Obviously, we want to expand a little bit, but
Office dog. A dog of the office dog come in there. He's like gonna venture his way over.
enjoying the party.
He's like, all right, 52 minutes is up. Put it down. I love it. There's Mr. Baird. But
yeah, we're not willing to put that at risk. And so we're gonna, like I was saying, we don't have goals in terms of how many people work with us. Like, we have goals in terms of how we work. And we're not willing to risk that. And so if that means it's 4 of us in a year or 12 of us in a year, then that's just how it's going to be. So, but I think that about wraps it up. Any last words, Mr. Bear?
Nope. Mr. Bear said you're Xing out 5 agents because I'm here south.
he said it was so. How do you use the guard dog?
Good salesman. Those puppy dog eyes will get you to make it happen.
That's all.
Love it. Well, you can find this podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple. If you like to watch it, we have a YouTube version as well. We're there, and we will see you.
Whichever camera.
I'm sure it was say bye, Mr. Bear. Wave with your ears.
See ya.